a different kind of a mindset talk this morning. I know I talk a lot about finances and things like that. I'm going to start the poll. Let me get our poll started there. And I just came up with this poll like a minute and a half ago. So, because I didn't really have a poll, but I can't type now because I moved my keyboard out of the way so that I don't have that for me to type. But what I want to talk about this morning is being an introvert. You know, a lot of people think that you have to be loud and you have to be leading the meeting when you're in a business meeting. And you have to be the only one being heard in order to get your plan through. And what I want to share is that I am an introvert. And so consequently, it was very hard for me to go live. You know, I heard something yesterday where someone said, you know, that when you get 50 subscribers, right, then you start going live and you'll get your channel monetized in no time at all. Well, first of all, I didn't know that. When I first started on YouTube, I just thought you just put up videos and eventually people find you. I didn't know that there were any systems to this or anything, right? Proper titles. I didn't know anything. I watched a lot of YouTube, but I never watched anything on how to build a YouTube channel. So the other part to that is that I didn't go live until I had 500 subscribers. And the reason for that was I was too scared. You know, I'm a very private person, and you guys see me cry on here. Well, I don't want to cry in public, you know, but I am. I'm so grateful, you know, for my life that I just sort of stick to myself. And my goal now in life is to help other people. That's it. You know, it's not to get any more for myself. It's to help others. And so consequently, I didn't go live until I had 500 subscribers. And now I have just over 1,000 subscribers. And that has been a real journey for me to try to get comfortable talking to people, you know, in front of people. I'm a background person. You know, I love helping in the background. I do not like to be the one on stage with the microphone. So all of this is kind of off-putting to me. And so there are some YouTubers just naturally comfortable in front of the camera. And that's not me. I don't know that that'll ever be me. But what I want to talk about is the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. You know, and I know that this title talked about extroverts being successful in business, which I really believe. And I have to look over to my, my YouTube studio, because I can see the chats down below the screen, but they're a little bit bigger over on YouTube Studio. Now see, Shadow Scout Swede says that he's an introvert, and I just don't believe that. I mean, the number of people that he has coming to his lives every weekend is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And so, but that's what I mean is you do not have to be an extrovert to be on YouTube. And Shadow Scout Swede is a very successful YouTuber. And so, and a lot of you are, Luciana Success Systems, very successful YouTuber, right? I do not know if I will ever be as successful as those folks, but I do know that I'm starting to find my community. It's taken me quite a while. But my vibe is attracting my tribe. There you go. Because I will tell you, just in the last couple of days, I have found a couple of channels that go out and help the less fortunate. That's my vibe. And it's taken me all this time to start seeing other channels doing what I'm trying to do in the future. Most of the time, and I get it. I get it. YouTube is about making money. I totally get it. And if I wanted to use YouTube, if I had it when I was younger, I would use it to try to quit my job. I would. And that's my going to be my live maybe next week. I'm going to talk about why I really retired early. My friend Julie at Happy on Monday, she recently did a video about why she really retired early from the school system. And I thought that would be great now, because I'm now retired 5 years, maybe six, that I can now talk about my last place of employment and why I really retired. Now, there probably will be some tears because it was very an upsetting kind of a thing. So next week, if you don't want to see tears, don't come to my live because it was traumatic. It was traumatic why I retired. But we're going to talk about that next week. This week, we are talking about, oh, please type fire in the chat because my channel is all about helping other channels to be seen. Because that's what I saw when I was a younger YouTuber, which I'm still a baby YouTuber, but when I was even younger on YouTube, there were channels trying to help other people, like Luciana's Success. She's trying to help other people be successful. And that's what I want to do. Yes, I want to help the homeless, but I also want to help other YouTubers because other YouTubers helped me. And I would not have gone live at 500 subscribers, except I had about, I don't know, let's say 450. And some friends of mine that are other YouTubers, they said, Daryl, you should go live. And I said, well, I tell you what, I will go live when I get to 500 subscribers. I never thought I would have 500 subscribers. So I thought, that was an empty promise. And then all of a sudden I hit 500 subscribers. And then I was like, uh-oh. And so what I did was I started going live. First of all, I messed up my first live, which should have told me to quit YouTube altogether, okay? Messed up the very first live. And my friend said, Daryl, you have to hit that public button as opposed. I went live unlisted. And I was sitting there talking and nobody was in the chat. And I didn't know. I just thought nobody liked me. That's what goes through my head. And so my friend said, well, Daryl, did you hit the public button? I said, what public button? They said, well, you got to go to the little pencil. And see, people had to teach me how to do this. And I'm still learning how to do YouTube. And I'm still making mistakes. Tiff's Take talked about the silent lives just the other day. And like 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3, anyway, I started doing silent lives because I thought that's what other YouTubers were doing to gain watch hours, not realizing that YouTube made a change in their policy, so you can't really do that anymore. Those watch hours don't count. So I deleted those. I only had like 3, but I deleted those. And so won't be doing that again. But that's what I mean, is I live and I learn. I live and I learn. Hi, Debbie Sue. Great to see you. I hope and pray that you're feeling better. And you said hi to Tiger, so I hope Tiger is in here. I've been wondering about Tiger. Oh, there's Tumbleweeds. I've got to go and call him. So some of you, and I have to talk about this, as an introvert, I make connections, right? They're not like the networking connections of what can you do for me. That's not me. I make real connections with people. And so some of you I have actually spoken to on the phone. Some of you I have actually met in person, right? I am all about real connections, and so Rhonda, who's on here, I'm going to get her on the phone at some point in time. Lakeside Laura, if you have not seen Lakeside Laura, she does singing bowls, which for me is very good for my meditation. And so when I had my fifth wheel, that's where we're in right now, when I had this at the lake, which it's not at the lake anymore, I did a video of the lake and the water was nice and calm. And I sent that to Lakeside Laura. And she created singing bowls to the video of my lake video. So that's our latest collab. So go to Lakeside Laura and look at the lake. It's all beautiful. And so I was in Hawaii last week. I'm bouncing around here, but we're going to get back to this whole introvert thing. I'm kind of uncomfortable with it, and that's why I keep bouncing away from it. Okay? Do you guys see how I'm deflecting what I don't want to talk about? So, anyway, I was in Hawaii last week, and I'm texting Lakeside Laura, right? That's become a real connection. So I'm texting her about the video of the lake and how she put singing bowls to the lake. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And she said, "Can you get me some video of the ocean in Hawaii?" And of course I can do that. And so I did. Now, these videos are huge. So I had to go through all these hoops to get them from my phone onto my laptop. And now I'm going to get those to Lakeside Laura so that she can do more singing bowls with oceans and waves and people walking by. And the day that I did her videos, it was very busy on the beach in Maui. But also what's coming up from me is I went out on the beach another day when it was quiet, and I just got videos of just the ocean waves. And so you guys are going to see that on my channel. So on her channel, she's going to have these waves where all the people that were talking around me as I was shooting the video, that sound will be gone, and you'll just hear her singing bowls. On mine, you will just hear the ocean waves because I'm really into meditation. And so this is going to help me to focus while I'm meditating. And so in the morning, that's what I do, yoga, meditation. And so anyway, let's go back to introvert. I have to check the chat here and see. Oh, Luciana is saying hi to everyone and welcome to the live. And Simply Debbie Sue, again, I hope that you're feeling better and better and better over time. And so, oh, good. Tiger's here from Tumbleweeds. And so I will have to get with you maybe over the weekend just to find out where you are, and just to say hi. Because I've been suffering jet lag, both going to Hawaii. I was waking up at 1 a.m. in the morning. And then now coming back here, I'm like falling asleep halfway through the day and laying down to take a nap. So I'm just glad that I got up this morning to make this live, because I'm telling you, an hour ago, I wanted to roll back over and go back to bed. Just so y'all know that today's live is like just out of bed. He rolled out of bed, turned on the camera. But, I love that about retiring early is I can roll out of bed and go do what I need to do. I don't have to have that 5 a.m. wake up. I know a lot of people get up early in the morning, even though they're retired, and they've got their daily routine and stuff like that. That's not me. I used to have to do that for my job, which we'll talk about next week, but I no longer have to do that. I no longer have to shave every day. So there's a whole lot of things about my retirement that are important to me that I don't have to do. I don't have to dress up. A friend of mine many, many years ago, we were going to a restaurant. I was living in Vermont, and it was an expensive restaurant, and I thought, oh, I've got to get dressed up to go into this expensive restaurant. And my friend said, if you've got the money to pay for the meals in this restaurant, you don't have to get dressed up. You have the money. I've never forgotten that. That's always been in the back of my head, is that I don't have to have that outward show of wealth. I don't have to do that, and so that goes back to introvert, extrovert. I can be quiet and be wealthy. I don't have to be the extrovert that runs around saying, I'm wealthy. Everybody ought to, no, that doesn't have to be me. Now, having said that, We're going back to the running joke on my lives of if I sold everything I owned by the time I'm 80, I could buy a Rolls Royce. But that means I'd have to invest very wisely for the next, I don't know, 15, 20 years, whatever the case may be. But my point is that if you plan ahead and you invest wisely, you can do anything you want in your future. And if that's getting a convertible Rolls Royce, okay, do it. That's you, right? If that is going to Hawaii, like I just did, and I hope some of you saw my short that I posted almost immediately. I posted a short of me and a whale behind me, just off the boat. I mean, the whale was right next to the boat. I did that while on the boat. I had internet access and posted a short while on a boat whale watching. See, you guys have me so addicted to YouTube that everything is content. So I have more whale watching videos that I need to post, but I've only been home a couple of days and I'm still just tired. And I'm trying to catch up on my student grading that I didn't do when I was in Hawaii having fun. So it all sort of piled up at my door when I came home. But I want to stick to the script here. So now Julie at Happy on Monday says that she wears sweats and t-shirts every day. See, that's my kind of person there, you know. We don't have to have, and Julie and I talk about this, we don't have to have a lot of money to retire. You don't need $2 million, $4 million. You don't need any of that to retire. We both retired on a low income, but we also both don't spend a lot of money. So when you spend less than you make, you're financially free. You will never run out of money if you spend less than what you bring in. And Julie and I spend less than what we bring in. So, Julie, I'm happy that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. So, being an introvert, and Julie, are you an introvert? I'm going to look over in the chat and see. So, anyway, being an introvert, I have always worked quietly in the background. When I'm in a meeting, and I try to express my ideas, they don't come out right. That's just me. And I'm talking about, I'm in a meeting with other government employees. So this is the government. This isn't private sector meetings. And so there's bureaucracy. And there are the people who are the face of the department, right? And they're the extroverts. They're always out there. They're the ones doing all the talking. I sit back and I listen. And I think. And that's one of the things on my list is that introverts think deeply. We sit back and we analyze. And so it's not that you can't be successful being an introvert. Think about Bill Gates. He's an introvert. Elon Musk is an introvert. And yet these guys are billionaires. You know, part of success, you know, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, is to build a team, right? And one of the things that you want to do is you want to fire yourself. That's what you want to do. And you might say, well, why would you want to fire yourself if you're the head of the organization? Well, because you want your business to run without you. And I also learned that. So in real estate, I fired myself. I am an introvert with a real estate portfolio. But do I work in the business? No. You want to work on your business, not work in your business. That's the key to being successful. You know, and that's from Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week. Because really, you don't have to work on your business more than 4 hours a week. And your business can be successful. You start at 80 hours a week when you're a new entrepreneur, but in the end, you fire yourself, which is the goal, and then you work 4 hours a week. And so that's my philosophy, okay? You all know, lazy investor, right? Let the money make money. My mother, when I was 5 years old, my mother had a boyfriend, and he had a rental property in San Francisco. And he was a longshoreman. But what he said was, he said, some people get up in the morning, they put their pants on, and they go to work. He said, I get up in the morning, I put my money out there and let it go to work. And I've never forgotten that since I was 5 years old. That didn't stop me from becoming homeless. But my point is that some things you never forget. I don't care whether you lose it all, you'll get it all back. A lot of millionaires have lost everything and gotten it back because they have that mindset of, I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to be wealthy. And so that's my mindset. If I lose everything, I can get it all back. We don't want to lose everything. Let's just be clear about that. We don't want to do that. So as we talk more, and I'm going to try and look in the chat here. Oh, Traveling Whitcombs is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love their channel. And my friend Tumbleweeds, Tiger, he is also traveling in a overlander. I don't want to call it an RV because it's not really an RV. And so I'm looking forward to seeing his travels. You know, and the Traveling Whitcombs and I have this thing going back and forth where I keep telling them it's cold because they show snow when they're out walking the dogs. But I lived in snow in Vermont. And, you know, ever since I moved to Miami, after living in Vermont, I was like, that's it. No more snow. So we're going to go. I'm going to try and get back to my script here because I was way off point. I wasn't even at the top of my script when I started. So I'm sort of going off the cuff here today. And as you know, I'm bouncing all over the place. But this is one that I've had, this topic is one that I've had in the queue for a long time and never wanted to bring it up. Because I said, well, that's not really about finance. And yes, it is. Being an introvert on YouTube, you can be successful. There are many, many successful YouTubers who are introverts. And I see the people on YouTube who are out front. They are out front. They have a crew behind them. I won't have a crew behind me. It'll always be just me sitting here in front of the camera talking about save your money, invest your money, retire early. I have a very simple message. But my point is, if I can come from homeless to financially free, anybody can do it. And I'm here to show you that not only can you do that, you can also turn around and help those less fortunate. It's not always about me. It's not. And so, again, I want to talk about these two channels real quick because I got off track talking about them earlier in my live. Is that I just recently, and matter of fact, last night, I had a comment on one of my videos, and I said, let me go look at this channel, right? And I did not realize that this person goes out and helps the less fortunate. And the name of his channel is Odds and Evens. And see, when you comment on my videos, I go check out your channel because I want to see who is this person commenting on my videos and what is their channel about. So one of the things as an introvert that I was afraid to do was to go on that Tuber Chat channel. But I was in Maui and I was talking to the source, right? As we were having dinner, you all saw me eating dinner over there. And I'm glad that my microphone worked from my phone all the way across the table so that you guys could hear me. I'm glad that, because we didn't know when we set it up whether you guys be able to hear me or not. But I'm talking to the source and he says, you should go on Tuber Chat. And I said, I tried that one time a while back and it was too busy or too many people chatting, and as an introvert, I felt overwhelmed. And I get overwhelmed in large groups. I prefer very small, intimate groups. Like I went to Hawaii with 5 friends. 4 friends. There were 5, but one of them left sort of early. But anyway, most of the time it was just me and 4 other people. And I was okay with that. You know, I have been on vacations where our group was like 300 people. And while I had stuff in common with all these 300 people, I felt overwhelmed. And that's one of the things about me in my life that I've never owned up to, is that I'm really only good in small groups. Really, I am. And, you know, very few people ever knew that. But I told one of my friends while I was in Maui that I only want to go on trips in these small groups with these people that I went to Maui with, because I am comfortable with those people. So if there were 3 of us when I met Tiger and his wife, right? We had dinner, fabulous. See, 3 people, I'm good, right? I love it, love it. You get me in a group of 10 people and I get overwhelmed and my energy starts to drain, right? Now, I will tell you one place where I'm okay in a group, in a large group even, is at a real estate meetup. I just want to be, you know, honest and truthful about that. And as you know, I just got off track of what I was just talking about, which I'm going to get back to in a moment. Is that, which it connects to that whole tuber chat thing. But anyway, I'm okay in a room full of other real estate investors because we all deeply love what we do. And it's all about the real estate. It's not, and different strategies, but it's not about some person getting up there and taking over the conversation. It's about all of us contributing equally to everyone else's success. That's what that's about. So in that environment, I'm okay with more than one person, but I will a lot of times not talk at a real estate meetup. I'm just there to listen and learn. Because the one thing about me is I just don't know everything. And that's what they teach you when you get a PhD. The one lesson that you learn out of getting the whole PhD is how much you do not know. People think, oh, you got a PhD, you think you know everything. The biggest lesson I learned was there's so much in the world that you just don't know. And that's really what a PhD teaches you. Really it is. So we're gonna circle back to Tuber Chat because I had a story that I was going through. So I'm talking to the source in Hawaii, and I said, yeah, I went into Tuber Chat one time. I was overwhelmed by the number of people in the chat and by all the stuff that was going on the screen. It just was too much for me. And so I left, right? And he said, oh no, you should go back in there, just go in and talk to the people in the chat. Well, when I came back from Hawaii, I put my big boy pants on and I went back into Tuber Chat. And I was in there for maybe an hour. And because I had been on the sources channel talking in the chat, it made me more comfortable. So I got into Tuber Chat and I was talking in the chat. Well, he showcases different YouTube channels, right? And he talked about a channel that makes hats for the homeless. I would have never heard about that channel had I not gone into Tuber Chat and be chatting in the chat and then see him pop up and highlight this channel. And so I wrote down the name that he said, and I went out and I found this channel. So I've got odds and evens. Just, I believe yesterday, I went and watched a bunch of his videos. And one where he was helping a guy and, you know, interviewing him, but a guy less fortunate. And odds and evens said that's what we should be out here doing, helping the less fortunate. And this other channel, and I found them and now I've lost them, so I'm going to have to find them again. They make hats for the homeless. And I want to donate my YouTube proceeds to the homeless. So that's 3 channels now. And that's where we go back to what I was saying a long time ago at the beginning of this, is my vibe is attracting my tribe. And so everybody is not attracted to me, obviously, you know. Um, and so that's okay. That's okay. My vibe is attracting my tribe. And so let's go to, oh, right, Rhonda's here. I saw you earlier, Rhonda. Rhonda, you and I, we have to get on the phone. We have to. You know, you and I have so much in common, like living in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. You know, when I lived in Saudi Arabia, I was there for 2.5 years. And I'm trying to think of the name of the mountain. I was up on a mountaintop, you know, about 2.5 hours out of Riyadh. And so when we would drive down to Riyadh once in a blue moon, we would drive like maniacs over there. I mean, the driving was like 100 miles an hour on those roads, you know, and so it was an experience. It was an experience living in Saudi Arabia. And Mrs. G, I see Mrs. G is here because Shadow Scout said hi to her. Mrs. G, please post your schedule of when you go live. I just all of a sudden see you pop up live, you know, but I would love to set my alarm for when you go live. And I will tell y'all, I have alarms in my phone for different YouTube channels. I know exactly when they're going to go live. I'm set. I've cleared my schedule because I'm on a schedule. I schedule when I'm going to grade students. I know which class I'm going to grade on what day and in what order. I'm very organized with that because years ago, I forgot to grade a class. And students were emailing me saying, when are you going to grade our work from last week? And I was like, right? Because you're not supposed to do that. Not supposed to do that. So I started keeping a calendar of what class to grade, when the work is due, what's coming up next week, so that everything goes smoothly. Well, I do the same thing now with YouTube channels. So, Mrs. G, if you're here, put in the chat when you go live. Yes, and Rhonda said, yeah, riding in a car was the most dangerous thing she did in Saudi Arabia. I tell you, you know, I have lived in the south of France. I have driven a car in Italy. And you want to talk about driving. When you go into a roundabout in Italy, don't stop. Don't slow down. Go into the roundabout at full speed. Just fit yourself in there in between the other cars and come out the roundabout at full speed. I learn how to drive wherever I am. You know, I will tell you all now, short story. I was working on a business trip in Korea, right? Now, I was in Korea in the Army, which is a whole nother story, right? But after that, I was in Korea on a business trip. We had to drive to the place where we were installing this IC chip equipment. And it was foggy. Now, again, we're driving like maniacs in South Korea. And this is why I tell y'all I'm blessed to be here. I'm in this car, I'm driving like a maniac in South Korea. It's foggy, right? And I see these red lights deep in the fog. And all I hear is, boom, boom. So I start slowing down. There were cars piled up everywhere. And I'm talking everywhere. And all behind me, all I heard was, boom, boom. I mean, the whole highway was piled up with cars. But because I drive defensively, even though I drive like a maniac, I drive like the locals. That's how we're going to say that. I drive like the locals. I survived that massive car wreck in South Korea. And behind me, there were cars crashing each other. Ahead of me, there were cars crashing each other. And I was able to pull off safely and get out of the way. So those are some of my experiences of living all over the world, you know. And so I'm very lucky to be here the way that I drive when I'm in foreign countries. So we'll just leave it at that. But Mrs. G, if you're still here, please put in either the days or times or something of when you go live, because I really want to support your lives. I appreciate everybody here who is supporting my life, and also who may be an introvert and saying, Introverts unite. So we talked about deep thinking with introverts and how we think deeper. And we don't just make surface connections. And when I say we, I'm probably talking about me, because I'm the only introvert, that I know, and I can't really say what another introvert does. Although what I hear is that introverts get drained by being in these, large groups and having all this activity going on around us, which is how I felt when I went on vacation with like 300 other people, right? I just felt drained all the time. And all I wanted was peace and quiet, so I would end up going back to my room. Now I'm on vacation with 300 people and I'm sitting in my room. It was the same thing when I would go to an academic conference, right? We would go in for research conferences. And I would be with all these other PhDs. Now, my college is not one of the Ivy League colleges, but a lot of these people were from these Ivy League colleges. And they were out there, and I'm from Brown, and I'm from Harvard, and I'm from, and I just felt like, what do I have to add to any of this? And they would give their presentations on whatever research they were doing, and I just wanted to go back to my room. Just wanted to go back to my room and say, this is too much. It's overwhelming for me. And so the older I got, I stopped going to the conferences. And part of it is that I'm sort of winding down my college teaching. I don't know if 2 years from now I'll still be teaching in colleges. When I first started teaching, I was in all these conferences because that's what you're supposed to do. And the older I get, I'm sort of winding down and saying, I'll go to a virtual conference. Nowadays, we've got that option. You can go to a conference on Zoom, and then I'm sitting in my home and I'm okay. So in a Zoom meeting with a lot of people, I'm okay because I'm by myself. When I'm in a room full of people talking and there's all that buzz and noise going on around me, it just doesn't work for me. So, hi, Kathleen's Place. Great to see you. I hope the weather is good up there because I believe you're in Canada and it could be snow. I know there's snow and ice north of me, like in Missouri somewhere. And so, I hope it's not super, super cold up in Canada. Oh, please hit the like button. I was looking at the bottom of my screen and it shows 19 votes on the poll, and I thought it was 19 likes. But no, I now look at the top of my screen and I see that I have 12 likes and 15 people in, but the people come in and come and go, come and go. I have to tell y'all, my lives are getting better and better as far as likes and stuff. I would have lives with 3 likes and I was happy. I'm good. I have recently had lives with 10 likes, or when I was on with the Source in Maui, I think I had 18 likes. And I was like, wow, I've never had stuff like that. I mean, I watch other YouTubers who are telling the chat, hey, I'm not getting off of here until I have 25 likes. We're going to stay on here and I'm just going to talk. Well, that's not me. I'm just grateful for anything I get. And that's how I feel about life in general, is I'm just grateful, for anything, anything and everything. The watch hours that I'm starting to get now, I'm grateful for those. I don't want to come on here and say, everybody should do the watch hours, right? And I have to tell y'all, go to my community post from yesterday. I shared an odds and evens skit that he did about YouTubers and how YouTubers ask for just too much. He is so funny that I had to repost this on my community tab because there are YouTubers out there that say, I want you to comment on every single like or every single short and every single video and everything. I want you watching. Yet people don't have time for that. You know, I had 3 TVs going in my 2-bedroom place over in Maui on 3 different YouTube channels, right? Plus my cell phone, because I'm always on YouTube on my cell phone. While I'm grading students, I'm sitting here with YouTube on my cell phone. Well, I recently learned, thanks to Oki's Eden, how to do YouTube on a TV. So I started here, but when I went to Maui, I said, I wonder if I can get YouTube on these TVs here. And of course, I figured it out. I'm a retired IT guy. So I figured it out in no time at all. And so I had 3 different YouTube channels running, supporting these channels' watch hours, while I was on a 4th device, my cell phone, watching my favorite channels as well. Because I have a ton of favorite channels. And Julie knows. So, but one of the things that we find on YouTube is when you get 10,000 subscribers or 25,000 subscribers, you can't watch 25,000 channels a week and support all 25,000 of your subscribers. So what I'm doing is I'm having to pick and choose, but I have my TV going every single day. And I have a list on my calendar. I told you all about my schedule and my calendar for grading students. Well, I also am now putting YouTube channels on my calendar. So on this day, I'm going to watch this YouTube channel. Then on Friday, I'm going to watch this YouTube channel. And so that, oh, and in Tuber Chat, this is another reason to go into Tuber Chat. He says in his chat, if you want to swap playlists with someone, just put I'm available to swap playlist in the chat. I didn't know that. Did not know that. But Tuber Chat says that on his channel. And I'm not advocating it or saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what he says on his channel. Because there are some people don't believe in that and will turn you off and say, no, that's not authentic. We don't believe in that. Okay. We all have to do YouTube our own way, what's comfortable for us. And where I'm getting to now, and maybe this is my new 2026 YouTube philosophy, is I want to make genuine connections with people. I want to have a small group of YouTubers that I talk to on the phone, that I go visit, you know, and that I really have a connection with, that we're real people. See, now I can drive all over the country meeting people. I'm retired, I can do that. Julie Jordan is driving all across the country right now, and she's taking us as riding shotgun in her car as she drives across the country. Well, I've done that at least 2 times, where I've spent a month and a half driving around the country, just meeting people, just having lunch, having dinner, and then moving on, you know, to go visit family and friends and stuff like that. So that's what I do, is I travel, I meet new people, and then I see family and friends as part of my trip. But I don't go to massive conventions. I'm not a big sports fan, so I don't go to like big football games or baseball games. Those kinds of crowds I really just don't want to be in. But it took me a lot of years to realize I don't want to be in those kinds of large crowds. And so I will say, since I've been in Alabama for the last 5 years, I went to an Auburn football game. And it was fabulous because I've just never been to a college football game. And the reason that I went to Auburn because down here in Alabama, you have to pick, between Alabama and Auburn. You have to be one or the other. Mostly everybody's Alabama. And so, anyway, the reason I picked Auburn is because my PhD research was based on research from a doctor at Auburn University. So I've always had this affinity for Auburn University. So when I moved down here and they said, "Do you want Alabama or Auburn?" Of course I had to pick Auburn because I did research similar, and that's where my PhD research is based on. And so if you don't know, I'll just tell you real quick. My PhD research is on employee ownership. And so I'm really big on everybody becoming a business owner, not an employee. That's my thing. That's my thing, is that in capitalism, the employee gets almost nothing. The business owner gets the majority of the profits. I mean, you look at like the CEOs of businesses, and they're making 600 times what their lower employees are making. I want everyone to be the CEO. On YouTube, you are the CEO of your channel. And that's why I love YouTube, is because everybody is a business owner. And I love that. Everybody should be a business owner. And you should make as much profit as you want to make on your YouTube channel. I 100% support that. For whatever reason you want the money. And if you don't want the money, that's okay too. But your YouTube channel should serve your purpose. Some people want to help other people. They do therapy, or like Lakeside Laura, she does the singing bowls, which really calms my spirit. So she's helping other people, whether she knows it or not. See, people like me that need to do meditation, need to be calm. She's helping us, and she may not even know it. And if she makes money on YouTube, I hope and pray she does. She should make as much money as she could possibly make on YouTube. I am not anti-making money. What I am about is taking your money that you make, investing it well, so that someday, if you decide to walk away from YouTube, because I see a lot of YouTubers, I've been watching it for a lot of years, a lot of YouTubers just fade away. They just disappear. Now, some take down all their content from their channel. Other ones, their content is still there from 5 years ago. You just haven't heard from them in 5 years, and you wonder what happened. Because I get invested. I do. Maybe you don't. I get invested in people's YouTube channels. If I've been watching your channel about you budgeting your finances for the last 7 years, and then all of a sudden you just don't post anymore, or you post once a year, I was invested in your success. So that leads me to going back to the thing I should have started with a long time ago. I was talking about how I didn't go live until I had 500 subscribers. And I was so terrified to do that because I didn't want to put myself out here, that I said I have to go live on a regular schedule so that I force myself. Because if not, I just go, well, I'll do it next week. Well, I'll do it next week. I'm too busy right now to go live. I'll go live. I'll talk myself out of it. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I set myself a schedule, scared and terrified. Every Friday morning, 10:15 Central Standard Time, I am going to sit down and turn on this camera. That's the only way I know to get over my fear. And I'm over that fear now? No. I'm just as scared as I was the first time I hit the live button. I just don't let it throw me 100% off the rails like it did in the beginning. If mistakes happen, mistakes happen. We'll fix it in the next live. And then I'll have things running smoothly for a few months, and then I'll go back to making the same mistakes that I made in the beginning. But I don't beat myself up. I say, Daryl, you have an instruction thing. I watched Chip Lowe from Are You Locked In? And he was interviewing a guy who's a very successful YouTuber. And that successful YouTuber said, write yourself a procedure for when you're going to go live. I'm going to set this, I'm going to do the lighting, I'm going to turn the alarms off, I'm going to do this. He said, have a set list. I watched, I learned, I have a set list of to-do items before I go live to make sure I don't make the mistakes that I made in the beginning. So I am a very observant YouTuber. I watch other channels and I see how they talk to the people. Like Mrs. Paula does retirement. She would sit on her back porch and just talk to the chat. She just talked to the chat. You know, when I started YouTube, I thought I would base it on Steve's Retirement Corner. He's this guy up in Virginia who just sits on his back porch and says, well, I'm just sitting out here on my back porch and I don't know nothing about money and I don't know nothing about retirement, but I'm sitting here talking to you because I'm retired. And I said, I can do that. I don't have to have the flashy background. I don't have to have, you know, be in some exotic location. I can just sit in my garage in front of my motorcycle, because that's my passion, and talk to YouTube. Well, I didn't realize in Alabama, in a garage, it's 95 degrees. So I had to learn that lesson, get out of the garage. So I have learned as I've gone on, you know, how to do YouTube. But what I've learned is how to do it as an introvert and how to do YouTube that's comfortable for me. I can't be like Mrs. Paula and just talk to the chat because I'd never be looking at the screen. And I find it hard to see myself on the screen. When I first started, I couldn't look at myself. Now I look at myself on the cell phone and I say, well, Daryl, that's how you look. You got that nose, you got those eyes, you got that gray hair. It's how you look, you know, and I can't change any of that. So in 2026, I'm starting to relax and come into my own. But it's taken all this time. I need to relax more. I need to be more open and vulnerable, which is why next week we're going to talk about why I really quit my job. And Julie, who I hope is still here, she was here earlier. Hi, Key. Good morning. I'm sorry, I'm not looking over at the chat, so I'm not welcoming everybody that comes in the chat. And you're supposed to do that, apparently, on YouTube Lives. You're supposed to welcome everybody that comes in the chat, but then I'd never get to tell y'all what I'm telling you. But Julie, at Happy on Monday, when she did a video this past week talking about why she really quit her teaching job and retired early, she talked about the different things in teaching. You know, like keeping students safe used to be a priority. Well, she gave me permission to come on here on YouTube next week, my live. We're going to talk about why I really quit my job and retired early. Yes, it was part of the plan. But when I quit, I decided overnight I'm out. And so we're going to talk about that. Don't do like I did. Don't decide you're going to quit your job overnight. Unless, oh, Julie, thank you. Julie's still here. I wanted to thank you for doing that video on why you really retired early from teaching, because it gave me permission. And what I do is I see people on YouTube doing things, and it gives me permission to just be me. You know, I watch Tiff's takes, and Tiff does things in her lives that give me permission to just be me. You know, she was ironing clothes one day, and she said, well, I have these sniffles, and I get nosebleeds and that. And I was like, I get nosebleeds. And so it gives me permission to be me. A lot of times I think, oh, I'm the only one that has this issue or that issue. And I see other people on YouTube that are introverts and just as scared as me, and they're up there doing it. So you all are giving me permission to be authentic, which is what we talk about on YouTube. And I have to be me, right? Meaning some things in my life are going to stay private. That's me, right? Other things in my life are not going to be private. Whereas other people would say, man, I'd keep that private. Well, that's not me. I have to tell my story, but I tell it to the level and extent that I'm comfortable telling it. And so next week, I'm going to get uncomfortable and vulnerable and embarrassed, which is one of my issues. I do not like to be embarrassed, right? But next week, we're going to get the embarrassing truth about my life and my past. And, it's life. It's life. Who was I talking to? I was talking to a friend of mine who happens to be, he's from Massachusetts, but he happens to be down here in Florida. He and his wife come down for a few months out of the year. Well, when I flew into the airport in Florida, I called him up and I said, hey, I'm right near you. Let's go to breakfast. And so, excuse me, tears are coming down. That's what happens after a while with me. Anyway, we went to breakfast after I got off the plane, and he was telling me, and he's a bit older than I am, but he was telling me about his work career, and various different jobs that he'd had. He had a job where he was way at the top of the chain. Then after that job, he had a job where he was at the bottom of the department. But he still knew people that were at the top, and they didn't even want to look at him. Because his job now was so low that these people at the top didn't even want to look at him, didn't even want to acknowledge him and say hi, because they were with their uppity up friends. He was telling me a story similar to my work story, my work history. My work history has not been, oh, well, he just made money and just kept moving up the chain and then he became the CEO and the manager and all that. No. Nope. Being an introvert, I have had to live my life separate from my job. My job paid the bills, but I had to learn that my life and my future had to be my own path. And it was not going to be the path through my workplace. I was not going to get wealthy through my workplace. I had to build my own wealth separate from my workplace. All they did was pay the bills. Everything after that was me saying, Daryl, you need to do this. You need to do that. And again, all this stuff is before YouTube and before the internet. So we can't say, well, today you should have done this and today you should have done that. I didn't have those options. My side hustle, and we're going to end this pretty soon. We made it to 58 minutes without the internet buffering or crashing or whatever. My side hustle, when I was younger, right? We didn't have DoorDash, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have any of this stuff. My side hustle with a high school diploma was security guard. I worked nights and weekends as a security guard, walking around empty plants in Silicon Valley, just timing in the clock, at different points so that they knew I was walking around. That was it. And I made extra money. Not a lot, but I made extra money being a security guard. But my point is, I worked 2 jobs 7 days a week. I didn't have weekends off. I hustled my hustle back then. Today we've got YouTube, you've got merch, you've got memberships. You have a lot of ways to make money today that I didn't have those options before. So use your ability to do your side hustle in today's environment. Make money with today's technology. That's what I'm trying to say. What I do is I teach online now. That's my little side hustle. But I start getting Social Security in February, which could replace my teaching income. And so someday Social Security will be a steady income as opposed to my up and down teaching income. Because I didn't make any money in January, I'll have teaching income in February. Same way every year. But that's my new side hustle as opposed to being a security guard. And it pays much better being a college professor than being a security guard. But I've always had a side hustle, is my point. For the last 30 to 40 years, I have always had a side hustle. I could not do it when I lived in other countries like Saudi Arabia. No way for me to side hustle there. However, because I was a government contractor, I was a civilian working for the government, everything was paid for. Food was paid for, gas was paid for, everything was paid for. So your entire paycheck could go into investments. First, I paid off all my debt while I was in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I paid back child support, I paid off student loans, I paid back all kinds of debt. Then I invested every penny of my paycheck. Yes, I bought some gold jewelry while I was in Saudi Arabia because gold was very cheap way back when. And I bought gold jewelry and I invested my money in the stock market, which was all I could invest in at the time. And so all of that led to me getting my first rental property. And that's how I did it. I did the best I could do. And so I'm challenging everybody out there, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, to do the best you can do here on YouTube, because you are the owner of your business. And I love that. I love business owners. So therefore, I love YouTubers. Now, I know that there are other social media platforms out there. I'm not on any of those. I had a call this morning. Okay, here's my last story because we ran over time. I had a call this morning from a friend who said, I haven't seen you on Facebook in the last year and a half. And I faded away. I still go back on Facebook, but I faded away from Facebook daily because now I'm doing YouTube. And so I told my friend, I said, no, I'm fine. I just don't go on Facebook as often. You know, and I don't. I just am now this like full-time YouTube watching person. And so Facebook isn't my thing. Now you can get monetized on Facebook. I did not know that, but yes. Get monetized on Facebook. Get monetized on TikTok. Get monetized on, oh, what's the other one? Instagram. Do all those platforms. Get monetized on all those. Me, Mr. Lazy, is on YouTube. That's enough for me. I can't handle 7 different platforms plus teaching colleges. Plus travel in retirement. So travel in retirement is my thing. And anything I can do and still travel, that fits my life. If I can't do it and travel, it doesn't fit in my life. So I went way over my 1 hour. And so I'm going to dip out, but I just wanted to talk about being a YouTube introvert today and get that off my chest. And so please come back next week where, you know, we all get to shed some tears together, you know, about, you know, my work history, okay? And how I survived it and how I thrived. So no matter what kind of job you have, whether you love your job or hate your job, you can thrive. And that's going to be my message next week. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to have to copy this chat because I didn't get to see it all. And I see Yesenia Ramirez came in, and I want to say hi. That's my first time seeing you. And Mrs. G, I'm going to have to come over and visit and take you and your husband to dinner because you're only 2 hours, I think, from me. And so I'm real big on this making connections and just sitting down and breaking bread. You know, that's just a big deal with me. Anyway, DeBossway, thank you for being here. Key, thank you for being here. I know I missed a bunch of people. Tiger, we'll talk this weekend. But we're going to make connections. We're going to make real face-to-face connections in 2026. Thank you all, and I will see you all next week where I get really, really, way too vulnerable. Okay, talk to you all later. Thanks for coming.